Hey everybody, it's Blair Johnson with the Badass Records podcast, where we talk a little bit about you and some of your favorite music along your life's journey. A couple orders of business before we get to today's program. Wanted to let you know that if you tap the merch tab at badassrecordspodcast.com, you can shop and or purchase a few of your favorite swaggy items, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, stickers, etc. If you want to keep tabs on the podcast and when new episodes are out, find it on Instagram and Twitter. And I need guests. So if you're in the KC area and want to do an in-person episode, hit me up at badassrecordspodcast@gmail.com. As always, appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. Episode numbers are jumbled, but I think this will wind up being episode 67. Not sure anymore. Maybe once things are ironed out, I'll have it down. But nevertheless, hanging with Jake Watson, Badass Records podcast. How's it going?
Not too bad.
Anybody ever call you Randy? Randy Watson?
No, but once in a while we get. I got a couple friends that like to reference the Randy Watson.
Nice. So, racking my brain trying to go. I mean, the Hitmen is where we first connected, right?
That's right.
Now defunct men's hockey team whose uniform scheme and name inspiration was all some college club in Minnesota. Is that?
Well, it was. I don't know. I thought it was a minor league team.
Minor league. Okay.
In the Wild Farm system.
Yeah. Because let's see. What was this kid's name? He moved to Texas. He was the captain of the team for a second, and then Jason Lettinen took over, and he's the one. Or did Vic do it first?
I don't know. Vic was running the show when I got
there,
so he must have been after.
Well, Lettinen was the one. He's from Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Real good skater. And he was the one that came up with the idea, and it was just, I guess there were very few objections because here came those uniforms, and we had them for a while.
Yeah.
And I want to say the other dude's name was Jim, but nevertheless, we played with the Hitmen for a couple seasons, right?
Yep, I think 2 seasons.
2.
Yeah,
and then was right that. No, then I was skating with the River Dogs for a second.
Yep, and there was another team that formed the Amarocks, and I jumped over with them.
Okay.
Which then ended up becoming the Avalanche.
Oh yeah.
So.
And then everything in that facility kind of fell apart, and you reached out to me, I think, and said, "Hey, I'm going to do an Avalanche team or a team," and it became the Avalanche. And we went winless, right?
Yes, we did. A perfect season.
0-12 or something like that. And we had the one super young, fast kid.
Yep.
Who was like, if you don't score 3 or 4 goals for us, dude, we're
never gonna win.
Anyway, and ultimately, we wound up on the White Russians together.
Yep.
You're something of a legendary mentioned by this point on the podcast. Prophet's been on. You just come up in other mostly Phish related conversations, but I was just before you got here. I was trying to see if your old Phish and Hockey Twitter handle was still around. I didn't see it.
I have not been on Twitter for years, but as far as I know, it still exists.
Was it just at Phish and Hockey?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And you never deleted it.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking. I didn't see it. But.
Maybe Musk shipped me off to Twitter purgatory.
Cannot get this guy to buy a blue check.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, started played hockey together for many years, and out of that relationship, a show relation. I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but 50%, I think, of my Phish shows have been with you.
Yeah.
And hopefully that continues into this year and beyond. But sadly, you did a family man kind of thing and packed up camp and moved to Charleston. How long ago now?
Almost 5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
July will be 5 years.
Wow.
But that gives us East Coast shows to look at.
It does. I was not too terribly surprised, but a little disappointed that Atlantic City wasn't on the menu.
Yeah, me too.
I would think that was viewed as a success
Right.
by everybody involved. I know I came home with less money than I left with. So I know we've been over it sort of piecemealed here and there and in greater stretches on the road, mostly on I-70, but I can't seem to keep track of your family tree. So how did Mom and Dad meet?
They're both from the same small town. Now, my mom was kind of like a military brat. So,
Okay.
But she went to, like grade school and then some high school in the little town of Cahokia, Missouri.
Okay. Where is that?
Like northeast Missouri.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then my dad grew up there, and then
Like near Illinois?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep,
And
yep.
what else is on the, not on, that would be north.
Iowa.
But what's east of the northeast? What state is it? Does
Illinois.
Illinois come down?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Illinois goes the whole east side of Missouri. It's
The whole
border.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So they're both from that town.
Yep. But like, my mom was married first to my older brother's dad.
Okay.
Moved to California. He was a Marine, and then after they divorced, she ended up back home in Cahokia.
Sure.
And
Your old. Have I ever met your older brother?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
His name's Patrick, but yeah. And then she's back in Cahokia, hooked up with my dad. I've got an older sister. We're the only two like full siblings. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then had me. Then they divorced. My dad remarried. Had my younger brother.
Okay. Who I do know.
Yep,
Okay.
Jesse. Yep, hockey player as well. And then he divorced his second wife, and then he's married again. Has been, 25-ish years.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh wow.
So and then I have a younger sister from that marriage. And then just like really to keep it complicated, Jesse has a younger sister who's, Tori she's like a sister to us all. She's in the family, and no blood relation, but so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when your folks split, then are you primarily with Mom?
Yeah, it was a classic dad got us every other weekend kind of thing.
Sure. And then was he, when you would be with him, did he put on music at his place, and did your mom at home?
Yeah, Mom was not. I mean, there was music in the house, but not like she wasn't a prolific music listener.
Right. She just putting on the radio, or she putting on records, or
both.
Okay.
Both, yeah. She had a record collection, and she had boyfriends and friends and things, and that was probably, we heard more music from them, probably than her. But yeah, like my dad's side of the family, from the time like we went to a bluegrass festival in our hometown, Cahokia.
Okay.
Clark County Bluegrass Festival.
Huh.
It went on for 30 years or more.
No more?
No more.
Okay.
Yeah. And like
Went the way of the hitmen, huh?
yeah.
Bummer.
So we went to that every single year. It was kind of a family reunion, and all my cousins were there. My aunts and uncles all played music.
Nice.
Yeah, and so yeah, it was I think it went on like 10 days before I was born. It was the second weekend in August every year. So I was there in the womb, and right up to the last one. I think I only missed like one the whole time.
No kidding?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So if any specific memories of what Mom would put on?
No, well, not
or boyfriends or other folks?
Yeah. I mean, it was the classic rock. Well, what we call classic rock today.
Yeah.
But yeah. But we had the record collection for until probably 10 years ago, and nephews took them and things like that. So I mean, I remember going through the records even as a teenager and things, but and it was everything, there was Beatles, Joan Baez, and
cool,
you name it.
What about Dad?
Mostly bluegrass, and
he would play bluegrass and put on bluegrass in the house.
Oh yeah.
Any artists that you
I mean, everything from my grandmother recorded every artist that came through the Cahoga Bluegrass. He had tapes of those.
Wow.
She was a taper.
Right.
And then, primarily those folks, but also he's a giant Willie Nelson fan. He's like, nice. Willie is his Phish.
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was to say he's been to some of the 4th of July picnics. Willie's big 4th of July.
That still happen, right?
Yeah, it's been weird since COVID.
Okay.
And then now he started doing him. He didn't call it his 4th of July picnic anymore, but it's at his ranch. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
So was there, aside from stuff you heard at either home, was there a record that you first fell in love with or purchased that kind of started your own personal collection? Or
man, it's tough. I really listened to whatever my older brother and sister were listening to.
Sure.
And that was hair metal but also AC/DC. And then there was a lot of Who and Pink Floyd.
Sure.
And but like my musical tastes when I was 10 and 11, it was just a Walkman and whatever's on the radio,
Yeah.
And then by the time I was middle school, I'd kind of find my own thing. I was a weird kid. Elvis Costello was like
interesting.
One of my first people I gravitated to.
Yeah.
Strangely, but I love the Beatles. Had John Lennon on the back of my jean jacket.
Nice. I don't know if I ever knew that you were into Elvis Costello. I had a dude on who he collects vintage speakers and Elvis Costello releases. Like he has, and people that have covered Costello songs.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a pretty substantial collection.
Yeah.
But I had one of the very first episodes somebody gave me. There was an Elvis record on there. He always just seemed weird,
right.
because he had that kind of there was always fame or popularity associated with him, but I would never run into people that were into him.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden one day he's on MTV with big glasses and real close to the camera, and it's like, what is it? I don't know what this guy.
Right.
But it was Next Year's Model or This Year's Model was the name of the album.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit! And there's a band, the Attractions. I was like, God damn, these guys are sick.
Yeah, and they're all back with him now. That's his band now.
Nice.
It's Attractions again.
What about first show?
Well, I mean, again, I was seeing bluegrass
right
shows from toddler, but I saw so crazy T.J. Shepherd.
T.J. Shepherd.
It's like this country kind of country love ballad singer.
Okay.
That my mom took me to.
Nice.
Actually, she says that I think she tells a story that Bobby Vinton was the very first as a little kid.
Okay.
But yeah, and then a show that I selected to go to.
Yes.
Like what I wanted to see. Man, it would have been in high school. Probably. No, I don't know. I don't know what the very first one was.
Well, maybe it'll come to you. But
Yeah.
so am I accurate in saying that the level of love for bluegrass on the family level didn't necessarily stay with you? I mean, I don't know you to listen to a lot of bluegrass, or
I love bluegrass
Okay.
music. Yeah, but I don't know. You know, I guess I get on little kicks. Of,
Sure.
You know.
What are you somebody that's versed in sort of the genre's roots? Do you know some staples to, like, I've never really done much beyond like Bela Fleck or
Right.
the occasional something here and there, but I've never really.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like you know, Bill Monroe
Sure.
and Ralph Stanley and Alison Krauss and her band.
Yeah.
You know,
Was just here last night with Robert Plant.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Who else? Mo was here a couple nights ago. Too.
Okay.
I was like, man, I could have seen them.
Right.
Too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how encyclopedic my knowledge of bluegrass history
Sure.
is, but
Well, if you're
we've been listening to it forever.
if you're in a mood tomorrow, like where will you go?
Old and in the Way.
Okay.
I mean, I own all those albums.
Sure.
You know, on CD, but
Nice.
but
Which is Grisman and Garcia, right?
Yep,
and who else?
Peter Rowan,
Peter Rowan.
Tony Rice.
Okay.
Who were, I think both of those guys were bluegrass boys with Bill Monroe, you know. So
had a cat on the from the East Coast, the one I sent that Nate Bargatze TikTok to.
okay,
And we were trying to remember the scene in Bittersweet where Trey's in the he's driving his Isuzu Trooper or whatever that thing is, and the cruise, and he's got his cap and his glasses, and it's snowy and woody. And he's like, you know, everybody says, I'm going to be the next Jimi Hendrix or Jerry. No, you're not, because you didn't grow up listening to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He lands the thing saying, you know, the kid from New Jersey that went to the mall is part of rock and roll, whether you like it or not. But who does he say when he says, Jerry, you know, like Jerry you grew up listening to?
Yeah, I don't.
Is it Bill Monroe?
He might have thrown Bill Monroe in there, but I thought it was like an old jazz, like a hot jazz. But I could be wrong.
Well, I'm overdue for a bittersweet viewing.
I almost like suggested it as one of my albums and wanted to watch it before I came out, but never got around to it.
I mean, I do, and I don't know why this hasn't landed with the intensity that I always hope that it does. But I tell, hello, sir.
Sir.
I tell that story any opportunity I get, and usually I get like, but I'm like, what's wrong with you?
I guess you had to be there.
Oh my God. So what? So at what point? I mean, did you? So you're living in what's the name of the town again?
Cahokia.
Cahokia.
I mean, we moved away from there when I was 2. My parents divorced when I was 2.
Okay. And then did KC area from there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Northland?
Yep. Northmore.
Okay. And then high school up there?
Yeah. By high school, we were over living by Worlds of Fun. So, like, went to Winnetonka.
Okay.
So.
And then what after high school, what'd you do?
Started in culinary school.
Okay. At JUCO?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, then met Christy. You know, I was 20 or 19 when we met.
Wow.
And,
okay. I guess I'd forgotten that that it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then you did industry stuff, service industry stuff for a while, right?
Yep. Yeah. And, but yeah, so now I was from 2 to 41, I was in Kansas City the whole time. So.
Okay, nice. So, how long did you say you've been in Charleston now?
Almost 5 years.
Almost 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so, if you've got almost 5 in Charleston and 39 in KC, that qualifies you, I think, to give us a best worst of KC and of Charleston. Can you do that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'd never lived anywhere but here, but
Right.
we traveled quite a bit,
Yeah.
and but man, when I moved there, it's like a total culture shock. They have a ton of traffic, which I'm not used to. Here, I lived 4 miles from work. There, I got like an hour commute.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so it's like really a different world,
Yeah.
But no, I love it out there. The weather, you can't complain about that. Weather's great. There's a lot to do there. But I sure miss Kansas City, man.
Do you really?
This city's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
So you drove. I was going to, but have you haven't come
Haven't seen
through
the new airport
Me
yet.
either. Me either. I mean, everybody seems to love it. I loved the old one. I thought it was fine, but that's man. Yeah, I remember a couple of situations when I was there. What, three and a half years ago?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, basically, a couple of situations like merging or switching highways or whatever, and just being like, wow. I mean,
yeah,
you got to be on your toes.
No doubt. Yeah, they don't use turn signals. It's wild.
Yeah. I've also shared. So for Atlantic City last summer, because of the airline credit, I flew into Newark, train to Trenton, train to Philly, train to Atlantic City, and then when we're about to go our separate ways, you're like, "Do you want to ride to Philly?" And I was like, not necessarily. That's out of the way. And you're like, I'm going to Philly.
That's right.
And it was not cold that day. And downtown was bananas.
Yeah.
Like, smelled like pee. There was like some aggressive homelessness. And then what's Penn Station? What was the name of the place?
Let's see. It is Reading Terminal.
Reading Terminal.
Yeah.
They were doing some serious business. And I just imagine that was just a regular old lunch rush.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, every time I've been in there, it's like that. It's just wall-to-wall people.
There's a guy from Pittsburgh skating with the Russians for the last year.
Okay.
Good skater. And I know I won't be able to do it justice, but I mentioned to him that trip and a couple of other people too, and like both people or all three people, whatever, like guessed your order. So it was like a roasted pork
sandwich from Denix.
Yeah, but there was something about like
broccoli rabe.
Yes,
and a nice sharp provolone cheese. It's delicious.
Yeah, the broccoli rabe part, like, I was like, what? The first time it happened, and the second time I was like, man, this is a phenomenon.
Yeah. Don't go to sleep on the roast pork sandwich.
Right.
Cheesesteak's nice, but
yeah, crazy stuff. I mean, I know there's a ton more to Philly than just that little quadrant, but that was an interesting intro.
Yeah.
But so you were. Thank you for being here. I haven't said that, by the way.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you were kind enough to send me a list, and usually I'll just tackle them chronologically. So we'll start in 1985 with Tom Waits, Rain Dogs.
Rain Dogs.
I've got, just as it happens, I've got a bunch of notes from that episode that I mentioned that's not out yet. But I want to just kind of breeze through some of them because this is really
a mighty list of songs here,
Well, so 17 records for him. And man, this is near the tops.
Yeah.
It's so freaking good.
Yeah, I love it.
19 songs, 54 minutes. I immediately, I tell this story all the time too. It doesn't resonate like I anticipated it will. But I immediately recognized Mark Ribot. His guitar is
right.
So he was on Surrender to the Air.
Okay.
Did you ever?
I've heard Surrender to the Air.
Yeah. And then he put out two. He may have put out other things, but he's put out two records Mark Ribot y los Cubanos Postizos, like the prosthetic Cubans. And they're fan-fucking-tastic. They're like a Latin, a little dirty, funky, and not quite that same tone of guitar that you hear here and in Surrender to the Air, but it's still recognizable as his.
Right.
And those albums are fantastic. And so I've talked to you about Julia Mordaunt's Spotify playlist, right? She's the creative manager for Phish.
Okay.
And I saw it in a Facebook group post, Phish Facebook group post one day. She's created a playlist that is all of the walk-up, intermission, and post-show music from '09 to current. Like they're just, so it's 10,500 hours and almost 600 albums, and it's all that I listen to in my kitchen, just on shuffle. And if I hear something I like, I add it to my streaming, and then I'll whatever. But so there have been plenty of shows where the music, the house music's playing. I'm like, this is incredible. I wish I knew who this was.
Right.
And then there's been times where they're playing like an album that everybody knows, and it's super fun because everybody's singing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's been a couple times where they play an album that I have that very few people know, and Mark Ribot was one of those one time. And I was like, I fucking know it, you know. So I love Mark Ribot, but. Let's pause there. Tell me how Tom Waits came into your life, and how did this album...
Sure. Well, so on my musical journey in high school, we had a little group of friends, and one of the guys in that group, Jesse Graham, he was just incredible guy, awesome person and character, and smartest guy I know. But he worked at Musicland.
Ooh, nice.
So he always got, the inside scoop.
Yeah.
And just, encyclopedic brain for music, And so he would turn us on to all of the stuff, And Tom Waits, he definitely, steered me towards him, probably 14, 15 years old. And I don't know what about it resonated, but it's like every song he's a different character, and it's just, rich.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are something else,
Absolutely something else. I forgot to mention that, it's one thing for, we all know our phones are listening when we speak, unless there's a way, some people say you can go in and turn it off. But I think that it is dialed into your keyboard too. Yeah. Because I texted this kid, and hey, let's do the Tom Waits' blah blah blah, and so nothing spoken.
Right.
And then like moments after that, or not too long after that, I was on Facebook, and you had just shared something from a Tom Waits fan club,
right,
group, Facebook group. And I was like, that's funny. and I don't know if it was the exact post that you shared, but I came across a post that was like a 1-paragraph review of all of his albums.
Yeah, definitely nothing else.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I printed that off and I set it there, and we would talk about each record, and what did he have to say about it? And
gotcha.
We were like really dialed in. Same vibes as whoever this author of this post was. But anyway, so your buddy, he's always got the...
Yeah, he always had the, he knew who the new artists were, the hip artists, and then also just like, you guys should listen to this. You guys should know who these people are.
Yeah. There's... Because this is, all of his, he I think, he put out his first record, and then I think every year in the 70s for like 6 or 7 years.
Right.
And like, most of it is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
there are a couple like the first Heart of Saturday Night's amazing, Small Change is amazing, and there's one or two others that are just fantastic. And then I think he, maybe by the last one in the 70s, parts ways with Bones Howe is the name of the producer, and then then he's doing stuff in the 80s that's completely different.
Right.
Like the couple or three leading up to this are like, I don't know what's up or what's down anymore, like Swordfish Trombones and a couple records like that. But track 2, Clap Hands, just so great.
Yeah.
You mentioned the lyrics, said steam, 100 bad dreams, going up to Harlem with a pistol in his jeans, a $50 bill and a Paladine's hat, and nobody's sure where Mr. Knickerbocker's at.
Yeah, man.
So 22 musicians credited on this thing, including Keith Richards and G. Smith.
Oh, good old G.
Right?
Smith,
In the Saturday Night Live band.
Yeah, or in Bob Dylan for years.
Oh, was he really?
He was in Dylan's band for years and years.
Okay.
Yeah. When I say years and years, for several albums.
Yeah. The blurb on Apple Music, a cranky walk through an old house with no level floor. Waits' beatnik poetry has twisted into a singular vision of the world that escapes the bonds of time and geography. It's most of it was written in a Manhattan basement room, which is an observation that I love, as it shows the dedication he showed in producing his craft and releasing 17 records across nearly 4 full decades. The guy, he just had it when it came to, or so it seems. Here's my idea for a record. Writes the record, in whatever Trey, Tom Marshall, skeleton form, and then brings the other musicians in, and I think has been somewhat hands-on production wise.
Yeah.
Just like insanely intelligent, it would seem, and not a care in the world for trying to sound like anything else that has ever been.
Yeah.
I mean, the first couple are like they're not Sinatra-y, but they're more sort of to that.
Yeah, crooner.
Yes.
Kinda,
and then it quickly morphs into the underbelly dingy dive, bourbon and cigarettes and
absolutely
call girl ladies, whatever. But it's a shame, because I think a lot of people, the physicians hammer on the knee. The guy with the gravelly voice. I mentioned that discography episode to my boss. And he's like, it's like, man, get a drink of water. I'm like, that's not what's happening. So go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, and I think I like gravitate to, unusual voices too.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
Willie Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tom Waits. I love Jerry Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
Not a classic. Bob Dylan.
Right.
Right. It's not a voice.
Yeah.
That people try to emulate when they're in high school choir.
So this is Waits on his mind. His mistrust of fashionable studio techniques. If I want a sound, I usually feel better if I've chased it and killed it, skinned it, and cooked it. Most of the things you can get with a button nowadays. So if I was trying for a certain drum sound, my producer would say, "Oh, for Christ's sake, why are we wasting our time? Let's just hit this little cup with a stick here, sample something, take a drum beat from another record, and make it bigger in the mix. Don't worry about it." I'd say no. I would rather go in the bathroom and hit the door with a piece of 2x4 very hard. Mark Ribot on recording Rain Dogs with him. Rain Dogs was my first major label type recording, and I thought everybody made records the way Tom makes records. I've learned since that it's a very original and individual way of producing. And he also mentions that they wouldn't rehearse before recording. Waits would play the song for the band on acoustic guitar, and then they would just go record.
Make that song.
I mean,
yeah.
Waits on recording with Keith Richards. There was something. Oh, this is hilarious. There was something in there that I thought he'd understand. I picked out a couple of songs that I thought he would understand, and he did. He's got a great voice, and he's just a great spirit in the studio. He's very spontaneous. He moves like some kind of animal. I was trying to explain Big Black Mariah, and I finally started to move in a certain way, and he said, oh, why didn't you do that to begin with? Let's see. Track 15, Blind Love, Down Home Blues and Western, featuring Richards on guitar.
Love it.
And backing vocals, one of the gems.
And did somebody, who covered that song?
You know,
Bob Seger?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. Arian Berger from Rolling Stone. Rain Dogs is bony and menacingly beautiful. It's quirky, near pop, the all-pro instrumentation, pushing Waits' not so melodic but surprisingly flexible vocals out front were his own peculiar freak flag. His big heart and his romantic optimism gloriously fly. Yeah, Downtown Train. Rod's there's a whole umbrella of like
Waits songs.
that like I've forgotten many of which, like for example, Way Down in a Hole.
Yeah.
The Wire. Did you ever watch that?
Well, I never watched The Wire, but I knew that song
Okay.
was the theme.
The theme.
And they did it like different every season or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Same song, different take.
There was some kind of, let's see here, Bob Seger recorded a version of Downtown Train before Stewart, then 1 month after Seger told Stewart recorded his and later claimed that he didn't steal the idea from Seger. And it's like flipping Bob Seger and Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart, man, he's questionable, you know. He forever young.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But which one were you talking about?
I thought Blind Love. I thought somebody unusual. I thought
probably.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a song that people know and have no idea it's Tom Waits. You know.
Blind Love, Tom Waits. Will it tell us? Probably should ask who covered it.
There you go.
Covered by Squid, Charlie Giordano.
All right, I must be getting my wires crossed.
Silver Hearts. Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, why wouldn't that one be listed first?
Right.
Anyway. So this cat, Sammy, said that he has, a holy trinity of Waits records, and it's Small Change, Rain Dogs, and one of the very late ones. Let's see here. Do I still have? No. Well, anyway, I bet I can find it.
Yeah, and I love that he's an actor. I mean, like, from Dracula and the movie Shortcuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That scene, him in that diner, it's gold.
I think it's Mule versions. It might be Mule versions. Anyway, he's just incredible. I'm really pleased that when he came and did his first episode, and I went back and listened to Small Change. I was like, oh my god! Like I forgot how many amazing songs were on this, and then I went and played Heart of Saturday Night, and it was the same thing, and it was like, I don't know how I arrived at a point where I thought there was just like 3 or 4 pretty good songs, and the rest were okay. Like most of what he's putting out on, especially on particular albums, all of it's great.
Yeah.
But funny, you stayed in the late 80s for the bulk of your list.
Yeah. And I think that was just timing thing.
Yeah.
Like when I came of age.
Right. So from 85 to 86, Paul Simon, Graceland.
Yeah, man.
Which I revisited Thursday night, going to the batting cages with my boy, and he's typically pretty quiet in the car anyway. But he was but if he's dialed in, he'll have lots of questions, or he'll comment on the track name or whatever. There was a lot to it. I don't think I've ever. If I've sat down and listened to Graceland start to finish, I don't remember doing so.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of fun stuff on there.
Yep.
So, Paul, how you crossed paths with Paul Simon, when and how?
Yeah, I think, I mean, his voice, well, like Simon and Garfunkel even, for whatever reason, I loved their voices.
For sure.
And like as a young kid. And yeah, Paul Simon just, it's like, I don't know if you ever, speak to somebody and like their voice like soothes you and you almost feel the hairs raised.
Yeah.
That's Paul Simon, I can just listen to him.
For sure.
Relax anytime. But,
do you remember, so was it had to have been in Atlantic City when we had a couple or three Paul Simon situations in the car driving around.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if one of them was a satellite radio situation.
Probably so.
But we heard a track or two from Graceland, but then we heard one that was not, if I remember correctly, that was also really, really fantastic and prompted me to say, "God damn, Paul Simon."
Yeah, yeah, and it's like any of his albums, I can just find joy in listening to them.
Do you know other albums of his besides this one?
So not like track by track, like
Sure.
I know Graceland. I mean, I've probably listened to that album, 200 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And like Christy and I, we enjoy it together.
Sure.
So a few albums that if we're going on a road trip,
Right.
that one's always played. And yeah. But there, there's been 4 or 5 albums of Simon's and or Simon and Garfunkel and or just like not discographies but compilations.
Sure, right.
That I've worn out.
Yeah. So this is 11 songs, 43 minutes, 7th of 15 for him, including 7 psalms, which by the time this airs will be out May 19th.
Okay.
Didn't know. It kind of doesn't look like he's really, he's been consistently, not like every year, but
Right.
he doesn't have, I don't think, any big gaps where he was not making music.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, if you go back to, I imagine Simon and Garfunkel wasn't his first outfit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think.
Ever. Like maybe he did something.
Yeah, they called themselves something else, but I think it was just him and Garfunkel. They had their first album. They had a name of some kind.
Okay.
But I can't remember what. Now.
Huh. Well, but I wonder if he was playing in something or gigging or recording it all, and when they met.
I'm sure. Yeah. I think he was a songwriter, and then. It was one of those things. Somebody in the industry like put them together.
Nice.
Their voices,
Album of the Year, Grammy in '87, added to the U.S. National Recording Registry. 16 plus million copies sold. 50 plus people credited, musician wise. A lot of controversy. The wiki for this album alone is ginormous.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
just because of South Africa and
apartheid,
yes, going there.
There's a whole bunch on that, and then is it Linda Ronstadt? Is she on the track?
Yeah,
and she had done something like something similar not too long before this, so it like she had the. That Scarlet Letter, and then she joins up with him. And,
gotcha.
So there's a bunch about that, but then there's also 1 or 2 accusations of people saying that he stole stuff from them, and who knows?
Right,
but it's like, like I don't know what the concept of the album. I don't think I could articulate it because I'm not an expert on it, but there is a vibe or a concept, and it's like I remember hearing it. One friend in particular played it a bunch, around the time it came out, and it was like kind of opened this fabric to this idea of worldly music.
World music, yeah.
Which I don't know what I had prior to that. So if it's violating all these things in this one lane, it's doing positive things over here.
Sure,
to me, in my mind, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you think there are a couple or three others that are like worth owning or listening to on the reg?
Yeah. Although, I mean, like I said, this is the one like studio album that I can listen to over and over and over again. But I think virtually anything that he's done has just been, it's first rate for sure.
Absolutely. And then there was at least one video from this album, right?
Quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he made a lot of videos. Now, whether any of them got any play, but Call Me Al.
Yep. Was that one like fun?
Chevy Chase
was
in it.
Yes.
Yep. And very irreverent. The video had nothing to do with the song. Well, I don't know what the song's about anyway, to be honest.
Right. You can call me Betty. Betty when you call me Al.
I'll call you Betty. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, he made several videos for these. I remember Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza.
Of course. Yeah.
In between the
Rocket
animatronic
Fire
shows.
Rocket Fire Explosion Band.
Yep.
That's Creepy Bear.
Between their sets, when they were on set break, they would lower a screen and like pretty regular play was You Call Me Al.
Okay. So I remember, can't imagine there was more than one Showbiz.
I went to the one at Antioch Mall.
Okay. That's probably the same one.
Yeah. I think there was one in Independence.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere out there.
Well, I more than once, the one we went to, the main stage with the Rocket Fire Explosion Band, and then there was two other stages. And over here was a dude like doing stand up.
Yep, Mouse maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I can't remember what
it was. It was like jug band guy with like maybe an old gas station setup.
Okay.
A bear.
Yeah.
Like a box guitar.
Yes. Nice. Nice. Man, that I just aside from my sister and I both being terrified of that gorilla on the keys.
Yeah.
Other than that, like that was heaven on earth. That was the place.
Right. Yeah.
I thought I had something from it down here. I took my kids to Chuck E. Cheese a few years ago. It was terrifying.
Oh, boy.
I mean, like they were super, super weird about the food, and like you got to have the right piece of disposable plateware.
Okay.
For
right.
if you're getting salad bar, you better have it in the bowl that they gave you, and your slice you have to keep your same plate. They come around and they're like looking. And then all the customers. So that's not even your first interaction.
Right.
Like I always reflect on one of the brew pubs that I helped manage in college was the first place I heard, if you don't greet people at the host stand within 2 minutes, like, good luck. It's because the experiences are, so you just, hello, hey, we'll be with you in a sec, blah, 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 et cetera, as long as they feel, like you've addressed their...
Right.
Anyway,
right.
So coming into Chuck E. Cheese, it's just like rogues gallery, just the way these folks look. It's like, I wonder how much of that they dressed up as for their interview.
Right.
But anyway, they're in charge. So that's your first, it's like, oh my God. And then the food thing, which is super, super weird. And then when it's time for, the rat to come out. This employee just kind of skulks out from the back room and goes into a closet and comes back out. Full costume except for the head.
Right.
Into a closet and then back out and the head, and then just kind of like walk around like they're, strung out a little bit. And I just remember feeling like absolutely terrified germ-wise.
Yeah. Right.
Video games and sneezing before COVID even.
And it's all kind of dark in there, so you
Yeah.
can't really tell how clean anything is.
Yeah.
There's an awesome meme about Chuck E. Cheese that like talks about our come down and have some rat pizza at our child casino or whatever.
Nice.
It's awesome. But it used to be a magical place,
I mean, I don't know. Showbiz for sure was.
Showbiz, yes.
So, still in the 80s, moving ahead a few years, 1989, Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique.
Yeah, man.
This might be the most selected album.
Yeah. Oh, in the podcast? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Which is interesting to me because I was very much dialed into what was happening when License to Ill came out.
Yeah.
And then late in high school, it's like Ill Communication and Check Your Head.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't own them, but lots of people, they were almost always on at like house parties or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know Paul's Boutique existed until like, I might have been 20 or 21.
Okay. All right.
So I completely missed that it came out.
Yeah.
I found that a couple of other folks had the same experience. What about you?
So for me, of course I'd heard, Brass Monkey and, but I was not a giant Beastie Boys fan until Paul's Boutique came out.
Okay. Well, it blows. License to Ill was something. It was wow factor. Create like a good record, like a good debut, and then it's kind of silly,
right?
Once you dig your teeth into this one,
right, and like there's a lot of songs on this that are silly too, and that's like part of. I wanted to be the Beastie Boys when I was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my jam.
Nice.
I dressed like them. Wore Adidas because of them. And,
nice.
But yeah, like I said, there are some silly songs on this and some of the lyrics, and that's part of what I love about them.
Well, silly in the concept of like you've got a lot of well-told raps and stories on License to Ill, but you've also got Girls and Fight for Your Right to Party and then you move into this, which is like this super secret underground, the grooviest of the grooviest. Like everybody wants to be here at that party where that's playing, and when you experience that and you look at License to Ill, it's like
right. Yeah, I agree. So many people like License to Ill, and it, like I said, I nothing wrong with a good fight for your right to party.
Sure.
In the right context. But.
So one guest called it or said that it's been called the $1 Million record, or the record that could never be made again because of all the samples.
Right.
And I've never really dug around too much on that, but it sort of seems like that's the break. Like they got away with it.
Yep.
I don't know if they ever had to pay, but then beyond that, like nobody gets away with it anymore. Is that?
That's at least the folklore around it.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. It was this incredible album, and I remember when it came out, reading in Rolling Stone about it, like just even at the beginning, the going on about all the samples and the incredible way they put it together.
It is,
but it's
I don't. It depends on the mindset, I guess. I don't really stick around for what's the final B-boy
bouillabaisse.
Yeah, which is
12 and a half minutes.
A bunch of funny things sort of smashed together.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily stick around for that, but if you beginning up until that point, like the whole thing is like, like I said, some kind of cosmic.
It's an assault on your senses.
Yeah, yeah. It just makes me want to like unplug from the rest of the world and just be in that vibe. And the cover art is iconic.
Yep.
Anyway, what about the rest of their stuff?
Oh yeah, like after with Paul's Boutique on, giant fan all through high school. So for sure, Check Your Head, loved it. Ill Communication, loved it. And then kind of after that, I still bought all the albums, but
You like Hello Nasty?
I do like Hello Nasty.
Me too.
Yeah.
What about In Sound From Way Out?
That's where I kind of start to,
Okay.
And I don't know what changed, or probably my taste growing in different directions, and I guess I found Phish by then.
Right. Any others that we didn't mention that you recall being awesome?
Nah, for me it was always those three.
Okay.
Paul's Boutique, Ill Communication.
Sure.
Yeah. And Check Your Head.
So we finally get out of the 90s and get into 1991, and when you mentioned Matthew Sweet's Girlfriend, I was like, that has definitely come up as an album that you have liked in conversation before, and I, like so many other things, forget.
Right.
And it's like, oh yeah. And so 15 tracks, 60 minutes, third of 18 records.
Yeah.
He's just been up until like recently just keeps.
Yeah.
How in the world? I remember it's like, this era, it's not just grunge, and it's sort of a whole other, a handful of pockets of music are kind of opening up.
Yep.
And he was sort of horde festy, but poppy. Like, I don't know exactly where he was, but I was aware of him and Girlfriend.
Right.
But it was very short lived.
Yeah.
How this one landed in your lap?
I don't know who put it in my mind, or who suggested it to me, but I think probably just the song "Girlfriend" as a single.
Sure. Are you good on water? Need more?
Mm-hmm. No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. But yeah, that's probably where it started, and then bought the album. But his guitar is super. I mean, that's him. When you hear it, you don't mistake it for anybody else. I think that's probably what first made me a huge Matthew Sweet fan. But also, for whatever reason, that time of my life, there were lots of little festivals that Lawrence had a couple a year.
Absolutely.
He was making those rounds, he was accessible, I guess.
Yeah. Again, it's like I want to sort of not attach him to, but put him next to like Big Head Todd.
Yeah.
And samples and that kind of. Anyway, I definitely went to. I think this is. We went to Omega together. The heck's the name of it that moved to Arkansas? Wakarusa.
Wakarusa, yeah.
So Green Eggs and Ham Jam was there at Clinton Lake, Pete Phish Farm.
Okay.
And then it was Omega, and then it was Wakarusa. Those are three that I know that I went to. I'm certain there were others.
And you got Day on the Hill back in Lawrence, proper. And I went to that several years. And then he would play. I'm trying to think venues that I saw him at here in Kansas City. I don't know why, but he came here once or twice a year.
Okay.
So, like live music, at 15 and 16 years old, I could start to go see some things.
Yeah.
And he happened to come through a lot, and I was hooked on him. But I love. I mean, I think he's got great lyrics. I think he's excellent. He's puts his heart on his sleeve,
For sure.
There's some kind of creepy songs like
really?
Like Winona.
Uh-huh.
Winona. It's about his crush on Winona Ryder.
I wondered.
And you hear the lyrics, he doesn't know her, so he's kind of creeping on her a little bit.
Is there another track right after that that's also a girl's first name?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Well, yeah, Evangeline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and then there's a song called "I'm Waiting" or
Okay.
"I've Been Waiting."
Uh-huh.
If you listen to those, to me, it sounds like he's been waiting on an underage girl to turn 18, maybe.
Nice.
Like the lyric goes, "When you said to me, you're not so old, did I know it then? Because I had just been told."
Oh, man.
So, I don't know. And then, "I've been waiting, and I want to have you."
Oh, man.
But even through all that,
Yeah.
love the guy.
Lincoln, Nebraska. I didn't know. That's where he was from. And then
I guess I did know that and forgot that. That's probably why he plays around.
After high school, he moved to Athens,
okay,
Georgia.
Yep.
So maybe he's crossing widespread.
Yeah,
Isn't that an REM?
An REM, yeah. Which I loved REM. So maybe the's.
I think
some
they
sound
actually
in there.
connected him and Michael Stipe, and I don't know if it was like recording tutorials or if they gigged together, but there's some
connection. Between the two.
Yeah.
Well, during the pandemic, when everybody was on Zoom and things, I follow him on Facebook, and he did several like live. I'm gonna play music in my garage, and you guys Venmo me money, and
For real?
yeah,
And people did?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
it was and you could. I love the guy. I mean, I just think he's like, an emotional, very thoughtful person, and I think you could tell he was struggling. I watched the first couple of them, and he was like struggling with the idea of he's out here begging for tips, and he's literally in a garage full of stuff with, playing his guitar, and it was awesome.
Hey.
I loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And, but yeah, like I said, I watched a few of them, and the first couple, it was very uncomfortable for him.
Understandably so.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
So after you sent me your list, you said you might add one or two. Are there any others that come, just off the top of your head that have been big either in youth or recently or somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, Bob Dylan, Highway 61 Revisited.
Okay.
I wore that thing out
Nice.
on cassette and then CD.
Is that the title track has that like slide.
Yeah, man.
That's a really good one. Any others?
I was one of the ones I had in mind was Bittersweet Motel.
Okay.
Just as
soundtrack.
something a little different, yeah.
Gosh. I guess we get the acoustic version of Bittersweet to close it.
Yeah.
And then what's he playing when he's, on stage doing where he's in the groove, so to speak. It's not simple. But
yeah,
you've got the that.
There's a Golgi apparatus.
Well, I was just going to say
beautiful in there.
And I mean that's right when we get Homegirl, or we're bleeding into the festival grounds, and we start to get the hodgepodgey.
Yes.
And then eventually we get the what she does some. I think she's got a balloon and she does a little dance, and there's like a dude that walks by. God, did they ever actually release a soundtrack for that, or
no?
Yeah,
but, no. Or at least not to my knowledge.
There's definitely a 2001 somewhere in there. There's some. I'm picturing like they're on a bus, kind of like coming into a European town, and it's a very like a overwhelming, and whatever's playing then is perfect for that
spot, yeah.
I mean, not that there's areas that aren't perfect elsewhere in the movie, but of course the way that they did Roses Are Free, the rehearsal, into the
live jam.
There's whatever's playing when he's popping the balloons. Frankenstein that ends with the doors opening and Trey and Fishman like one of them's pretending to blow the other.
Oh yeah, right.
Which is right after all the heads cut off everywhere across.
Right, yeah.
God, I would have died. I would have died to get home and develop that.
Yeah, get your film back. Yeah. I swear that's Trey's arm.
Right? Yeah. So I was talking to a dude from Whiskey Mash Band. He had a String Cheese album, a Hendrix album, and Farmhouse, which is fascinating. Yeah. And so we talked some studio Phish, and he was not aware. I had my copy of Sigma Oasis sitting over there. Like, he didn't know about that. He didn't know about Kazvat Vox, and he didn't know about Get More Down.
Oh, shoot.
Do you know about Get More Down?
I know.
Well, I mean, I was telling him it's it just came out like late last year, maybe. I don't know if it was Halloween affiliated like Kazvat was or not, right. But I remember seeing something and being like, "Oh shit!" Like and then I spaced, and then eventually I was like, "Oh yeah, new Phish album! I gotta fucking..." And so I put it on. I was like, "What in the world?" And so it's called "Get More Down," and it says something like a sci-fi. It's some kind.
Oh yeah, but there was they released like a comic book with it maybe too.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
So in that episode, I was just mentioning, one listen. I was like, I don't know if I like this, which is not a feeling that I. But then last week when I mowed, I put it on again, and I was like, oh, there's like a story. This is there's characters and thing. Right. It's a deeper. So maybe if I read up, I would. But it opens with Knucklebone Broth Avenue, which I remember them playing that, and it was like, I don't know if it was a Halloween.
It is the Halloween. And it was a Halloween. It was the musical costume.
Okay, so it's a debut. And people, like, I was streaming it, and people, I feel like, were like, this is, that's one of the better tracks on the, so, but it's, I would love for you to, at some point, listen to it, as distraction free as possible, and shoot me your 2 cents on it. I need to take it back in there and do it a couple more times, but like I told this guy, I don't know if I can handle at this age having starting a fresh list of things I don't like about Phish, because the only thing that would be on there right now would be the cut off heads from the Phish, like, dude, and they thought it was so hilarious, like nobody in all of Europe, Anyway, so speaking of them, if you wouldn't mind, for those that don't know, will you take me back to your introduction to Phish and sort of walk me up to today?
Sure. We worked with a guy who was a giant fan, and I knew Dead songs, had not seen Grateful Dead, but I knew they were kind of, this friend of mine, Troy, he was a Deadhead and also liked Phish, and I was like, well, I'll give him a listen, So he gave me a couple of shows on cassette, and I loved them, and then they happened to be coming through Kansas City in 1994.
Remember what the shows were?
No, I have no idea what ones he gave me.
Coming through 94. Okay, I had tickets to that, and then I moved to Colorado and didn't. Damn. And so 6/11/94, Red Rocks ended up being my first, because they were there first and then here. So I like had my Memorial. Was it Memorial or Municipal?
Municipal was 95. Memorial was 94. And they came back in 95 at Municipal.
Yes.
So yeah.
So you'd seen or heard a couple shows and then went and saw that one.
Yeah.
And
it had a great time, and I think the scene was more fun for me than, I wasn't super into the music yet. didn't know any of the gags, tricks,
Right,
anything.
right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they were playing chess that night. No,
fall
95.
95.
95, yeah. Municipal, like, later, I found out they had made a chess move. I had no clue, I'm
Right.
sure I was in the beer line or whatever.
Right.
But, so, but I had a great time at that show in 1994, and then a live one comes out before they came back in 95, and that's when I really got, like, hooked, the album, a live one. I loved it. And
yeah.
course,
go ahead.
I was just, in those days you couldn't get live shows like you can now.
Right.
You go into Seventh Heaven and
buying
bootleg stuff.
Imported from Europe, and it's like
Right.
$49.
Yeah, exactly.
I had, by the time Hoist and a live one came out, my show collection was decent, and so I'm pretty sure I was getting the Doniak Chevice.
Okay.
And like knew that a live one was coming out. Somehow I heard.
Yeah.
And when it came out, and I learned that, like, I loved it. I mean, I was like, this is cool that it's because trading bootlegs, and always having a stash of blank Max LXL2s on hand, and all the things that go into that. Is sort of the black market, but then now this is like out on a label for the public to buy, which I loved, and the content is great. But I was really blown away that they sort of just poached from a handful, like Cincinnati. I don't even remember where all exactly, but most
east. Of them Europe. I thought most. No. That's Slip Stitch.
Yes.
From Europe. Yeah.
But I was like, I guess I had just decided on my own that a live one was going to be an actual show. Yeah. And I was like, well, it's seamless. It all works. They did a great job, but it was kind of like, you've got, surely you have the whole database accessible to you.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, and maybe they were, thought, well, if somebody wants live shows, there's tapers, they can go get a live show. True. And I think nobody, in the grand history of Phish, nobody says a live one is, stand out. So I think a lot of people kind of think some of the versions on there were subpar. And,
we got some, I mean, that's I'm pretty sure I don't remember if I already knew Gumbo or not, but it was without question the cleanest version of Gumbo around.
Awesome.
Really wild, You Enjoy Myself, which I think is it takes up a side of a 2-tape.
Yeah, I bought it on CD.
Okay. Yeah. Well, but I'm pretty sure You Enjoy Myself is one side.
CD,
yeah.
Or a whole
maybe
side.
Montana's on there with it, which is like 2 minutes.
Right.
Just that little whatever drum. So okay. Heard some shows, saw them, had a great time. A live one comes out, then you see them again.
95.
Okay.
And then I always get kind of jumbled. 96, 97, 98. I saw them. 1 or 2 times each of those years. They played St. Louis, Kansas City, and then Kansas City, St. Louis another year, so it was convenient. And then from like 99 on, I kind of made an effort in my own way to see him as much as I could.
Sure. Yeah.
I think 99 I saw him like 3 times.
Okay.
And then,
So it was in that Hitman locker room. I'm pretty sure I had a Phish ball cap, and you complimented it.
Yep.
So that would have been 02, 01, 2000. I mean, 03.
I was 29, so is it 05? Is that possible?
05?
Yeah.
Okay. But when would we have seen our first show together?
That was after the breakup.
Okay,
right?
so
Yeah.
Post 09?
Yeah, 09. Because I think like by the time we connected on Phish, they were already done.
Was
after
Dick's our
04.
first?
No. Had we seen him before
Festival 8?
I don't think so.
Really?
I mean, that was fall of 09, right? October.
I think so. Yeah.
Halloween 09. And I'm not sure. I went to Chicago. They played summer 09. I think they opened the tour in Chicago at their soccer stadium.
Okay.
That was the first show I'd seen post.
I saw them somewhere around there at, I think it was Toyota Park.
Yeah, that's it. In Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were both there, but not together?
I think yeah.
Did we ever know that before right now?
Maybe we knew we were both going, but I don't know.
I remember.
That's weird, but yeah, I saw that show.
There was Kill Devil Falls opener, and my sister. So I went up, stayed with her, and her. Was she married yet? Anyway, and we did a Cubs game one night, and then the Phish. She drove me like through the suburbs in rush hour Chicago. So it was. Yeah. It took forever. So, like, I was trying to get in as they're starting. And I just remember kid after kid after kid leaping the gate to get not standing here for 30 more seconds to have somebody check. Anyway, I had fun. And then I remember consoling a very upset girl outside after. And then there was a bus that took you back to wherever you could access public transportation.
Yeah.
And it cost $2 and I had no cash on me. And somebody fronted me. I was not sober. I was pounding Miller Lights on the way down in my sister's car. And then she gave me her train card, which I lost. My phone died. So I had no cash. Then my phone died. And then I lost her card and had no idea where I was, but somehow I just stumbled, and she was like outside, kind of keeping an eye out because she couldn't get a hold of me. And she was like, "How the fuck did you find it?" I was like, "I don't have any idea." But that would be crazy if we were both there.
That is weird. Yeah. Well, we must just. Oh, well, you know what? So by then we weren't planning on the Hitmen together anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how we both ended up there without pre-planning.
Okay.
And then it must have been shortly after that we started with the old Avalanche.
Right.
Where we would be in the same locker room regularly.
Yeah.
Made plans for dicks.
So we've seen a ton of dicks.
Yeah.
Atlantic City, Festival 8. I feel like we've been somewhere else, have we not? Well, I guess we both caught two different Baker's Dozen shows.
Yep.
Only New Year's one was, for me, it was 14 in Miami.
Yeah, I've never been to a New Year's show.
God, that might be it.
Oh, Charleston,
yes. Yeah. Where we caught one of the first Sigma Oasis.
I think the first.
Yeah. And my son loves that album.
Yeah.
He has a number of favorites, but he's guaranteed every handful of weeks or whatever he'll be like, we put on yeah.
Excellent.
Which I was telling in the Whiskey Mash Dudes episode, that was a surprise. That was a COVID release, and it was kind of like, the way I remember it was like, new record tomorrow, and I was like, excuse me?
Right.
And then it was like a real nice mix of tracks I'd heard and tracks that I hadn't. And it was like it was like a medicinal, like, COVID gift
right
from them.
But, yeah, well, they were incredible during COVID. I mean, from the dinner and a movie stuff,
right?
And then Trey and his Beacon
series.
I mean, which anybody that knows Phish just knows that they value their fans and they take care of us.
Yeah. I think, I don't remember if we discovered it at the same time or if you told me and then but I have this memory of going to tell you the the Peyton story, and you already knew it. So Trey shares the story of the kid who gets spun out and then like calls his mom from.
Oh, right.
And and then so how does it go? I just remember the mom the mom somehow called their room in the venue.
Yes.
Or something like that, and was like, Peyton. And some sort of tongue in cheek to pot. I'm sure that's all that was going on. Something about like a payphone near a gas station across the street from the venue. I don't know. There's that I know of a good 3, 4, 5, 6 little stories. That's from what that Beacon run is where that came from, right?
Yeah.
And just like really, not that he's been a guarded person, but I mean, completely guard down and just frank and like being okay with the idea that if I tell these people stories and the occasional story in between songs, they're going to love it no matter what.
Right.
Because of, anyway. Yeah, to your point, I mean, taking care of fans. And I still am just, and Festival 8 blew my mind from the Dr. Mulcahy, where you could go in there and get eye surgery and they would paint like a third eye on your forehead.
I think I missed that completely.
I mean, like things where you list this and then there's this whole bizarre Sonic universe in there. Yeah. There were freaking drones and a blimp flying around. Remember that?
No.
Like, and then all the palm trees were like had some
lit up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, the coffee and donuts.
Yep.
I mean,
absolutely.
And lots of great costumes.
Yeah.
I don't know still to this day where it comes from, but I have a Facebook photo album from that weekend.
Okay.
And there's a bunch of there's some Sesame Street and then at some point there's just a guy with a t-shirt that says owls are assholes. And he he was all about, he's like, this is gospel true, like still I think I've Googled it before and I don't know if I ever found an answer, but so many fun memories.
Yeah.
I mean, just that freaking boardwalk bar that we kept going to.
Oh, at Atlantic City?
Yeah, blasting Phish after the shows.
Yeah, Boardwalk Billy's.
Right, yeah.
Don't miss it.
So, okay. We got you swung the irons today.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that?
I started golfing early 20s.
Okay.
So crazy, the Hitmen.
Yeah.
I found my way to that team through Jim Adkins, Mad Dog.
Did you ever listen to or watch Prophet's episode?
Yes.
Where we were talking about all the whoever we could remember.
Right.
And he was like, that guy was just like breezers and skates.
Yeah. Yeah, his knees did not bend.
Yeah. So you came to the Hitmen because of him.
Yeah. Well, he also got me out for my first round of golf.
Okay.
So he was very, interested in my sports career.
Sure. Now, were you decent your first day out?
No.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm still not a decent golfer,
But
no, I remember my first round of golf ever. We went to Swope Park.
Okay.
Which, it's like an inner city
golf
course, and a lot of no-nonsense folks come out there to play.
Uh-huh.
The first hole, I was at least on shot 8 before I was actually on the green. Walking off the green, and here's the marshal pulled up to talk to us.
It's the most rule-following place on the planet.
That's right. He says, if it takes you more than 6 or 7 shots to get to the green, just pick your ball up and go to the next hole. And, I'm like, oh, it's a wonder I ever played again, but I'm stubborn in that way.
Sure.
So, that was my first round.
And have you played consistently ever since then?
Yeah. until the last 5 years, I mean, I might have played 6 times or 7 times a year,
Okay.
kind of, and
Now it's more like 20 or so, isn't it?
I'll play at least once a week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Year round.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, in South Carolina.
Yeah.
You
Hey.
just keep playing.
So like, where do you? I've never really understood how handicaps work, and I'm not interested in learning it necessarily.
Right.
But I am interested in like an average score for you might be what?
Yeah. So right now I'll shoot in the low 90s most of the time.
Okay.
And now I can still shoot a 106 round.
Sure.
And I can, sometimes get in the,
Yet to break 100.
85, 86 range.
Okay.
But that's about as low as I ever go.
Nice.
So yeah, and then over the last 5 or 6 years, I follow the rules. I count every stroke.
Sure.
I don't know. There's no reason to.
Well, if you're
fudge.
interested in making your score better, you can't. You'll never.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Maybe it was in Colorado 2 years ago for Dick's when we played around.
Yeah.
Maybe it was before that, but I think it was there that you were teaching me this grip.
Yeah, the strong grip.
Strong.
So like clubs coming down, most of us grab the club like this. That's a normal grip.
Yeah.
A strong grip, you bring your left hand over so you can see some of your knuckles.
Yeah.
And grasp the club like that.
It looks weird. The first time you see it, it's like, what is he doing?
Well, and like, a good, well-versed golfer can adjust a little stronger, make some adjustments there. For me, to cure my slice, I really have to exaggerate that strong grip.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is just keeping that ball from slicing,
Okay. Well, that's same.
Yeah.
And I've just at Top Golf.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there twice in the last year. I remember the first ball I went to hit, like I had that picture of your grip, and you telling me about somebody that introduced it to you.
Yeah.
And when I couldn't remember exactly, but I think that I got close and I could immediately see the difference in the way the face of the club would strike the ball this way versus that way. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is the way to do it. And then I've seen dudes on TikTok that basically demonstrate, like, this is not correct. And I forget exactly. It's the way that your arms come back. It's the same concept. Like, if you do it this way, then you're going to get the actual desired contact, which will, in theory, send your ball straight.
Yep.
And not, but so it's called the strong grip.
A strong grip.
Grip.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was just kind of a fateful round of golf. I went out, me and a friend went out to play, and they connected us with 2 old guys.
Yeah.
And 6 or 7 holes in, for whatever reason, this old guy decided he was interested in making my game better.
Interesting.
So he said nobody likes to listen to the advice of somebody on the golf course. He's like, so you don't have to listen if you don't want, but you should try a strong grip. I'm like, what do you mean? He showed me the concept, and within 3 or 4 rounds of golf, I was like taking strokes off my game.
Okay. So, if you look at the trajectory of that first day out to your round today, was there, aside from that particular story, was there a point where you sort of saw the pendulum swing to like, oh, okay, I'm considerably less shitty than I was X number of years ago, and things have kind of looked...
Man, so the pendulum has swung so many times, It's like, for... 10 years ago, I had some epiphany and thought, well, okay, I'm going to be a better golfer out of this. And within 6 or 7 rounds, whatever that thing was doesn't work for me anymore.
Right.
But I really do. Yeah, I would say in the last 3 years, I've made some changes that aren't going to revert.
Nice. Back on Phish real quick. Top 3 favorite moments in your history as a fan, whether it's just listening to something studio or being at a show or
right. Yeah. Well, so for sure, Deer Creek 2000. They played 3 nights there, and just that weekend was awesome.
Okay.
My buddy Aaron Gross, who we played golf with, lives out in Denver now. He and I went to that one, and that was probably my first like big road trip to see him.
Okay.
And we were camping, and Bob Dylan and Phil Lesh and friends played the night before Phish.
Wow.
So we saw Dylan and Lesh.
Oh, nice.
And then 3 nights of Phish, and it was, one of the greatest weekends ever.
Cool.
So that's got to be, that's probably right up there. And probably Festival 8, just because, it's one of those things I never went to any big Phish shows,
right.
Big events before that one, But just the effort that it took to get there, the memories, taking my 2 nephews,
Yeah.
And then killing that poor sweet deer
right on the way home. I still am, as many times as I've seen Bittersweet. What is the festival? Is that Clifford Ball or is that Great Went in that one?
Must be Went.
Either way,
yeah.
When they, so you get the bulk of the story, and then they go to Europe, and then the thing ends with the festival, right?
Yep.
So when they step out onto the stage, and you can see the 70K.
Yeah.
Still, I'm like, God damn! I mean, that's like a Chiefs game right there.
Yeah.
Or Led Zeppelin used to. My buddy Jason, who you've met. We've been to a show together, at least one, from Durango.
Oh, yeah.
He did episode 1, and one of the albums he picked was Appetite for Destruction, and he's like, and we're talking about the Paradise City video, and he's like, were they playing with Metallica? He's like, the crowd footage you see in that video is not the Guns N' Roses crowd. Right. They poached that from Metallica.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've always been like, how on their debut album are they selling out like I think it's Giant Stadium?
Yeah, it could be.
And I'm like, oh, that's how. It's not. Those aren't the.
Very crafty.
Yeah. So Festival 8, Deer Creek. Any others?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this counts, but just like the bulk, the full catalog of Dick shows that we've seen,
Yeah.
I mean, that's an unusual thing, for to see some band that many times in one venue.
Yeah, and then we went the S show.
Yeah.
To Meat
sort of
Stick.
Spelling stuff. Yep.
And then most shows spell something.
Was that before Fuck Your Face?
Fuck your. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Fuck your. There was a meat stick in the Fuck Your Face.
Yeah.
I think. Anyway, and just pancakes.
Yeah.
I've seen on at least one talk show, maybe it's Conan, where whatever attractive female guest says, hey, we have to play this game where you take a shot at tequila and I slap you in the face. And he does it. And she slaps him hard. And you can tell the shot is like, he doesn't do tequila shots that often.
Right.
So he's kind of double. And I'm like, listen, man, the way you're supposed to do that is to be completely sunburned and shirtless in a field and stick your head in a cooler.
Yes.
And then come out. And what would they do? They had a name for it too.
Yeah, I have no idea what.
So we had our 2 quadrants or whatever were kind of on a corner, and there was a pathway, and they were on the corner on the pathway.
Yeah.
And they just got fucked up all weekend long. And that guy's gonna be 3rd-degree burns, and then sure as shit.
Yeah.
But they played that game and just, I mean, there were constantly bodies just strewn around.
Yep.
And then we had the one year with the East Coast folks and the one girl that the saying of the weekend was, we're all getting Adele. You're getting Adele. You're getting Adele. And then we had, it might be mixing weekends, but that Light still, which is an epic listen.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've listened to it since, but we walked out of there kind of, almost suspicious. We were so bug-eyed,
right?
And just set our chairs down next to one of those pathways and watched people walk by who had similar looks on their face. Like, man, oh man, a lot of good times.
Yeah.
I still don't really know
rolling down the hill.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Oh man,
roll down the hill. I swear that we have been there. That has been on multiple dicks. It wasn't just one time.
Yeah.
I think one of the times you maybe turned in.
Yeah.
And then maybe one of the times somebody like hit your tent or one of our tents or.
Yeah. Because one year we were right up against the hill that they were rolling down.
Yeah. And then there was the year where I kept dreaming. I mean, who knows how deeply I'm sleeping while camping at Dick's, but in my mind, from a deep sleep, I just hear this conversation, and then it grows and grows and grows and grows in volume until I'm like virtually awake, and then I'm like, I think that those people are like sitting in my chairs under my shade tent, and
enjoying your beer,
and have been there for hours.
Yes.
And when I just like went, dude, and it got quiet for a second, and then they like tried to resume chatter, and I unzipped, and they were so comfortable,
right?
That they were like, serious? I'm like, yeah, get the fuck out of here. What do you mean? And like, Jesus, like, like what? I don't understand like how many violations you're guilty of right here, but that you're surprised is.
I've got a good mind not to finish your beer.
Yeah. Oh man. So how much longer do you think you'll see him?
I don't know. I think about that. I mean, like, after last year, I thought, well, if they do Atlantic City, I'll go again. And it's easy to make plans to leave your girl, once you've just spent the night with her. I don't know, it's like I'm not going to miss them if I don't go.
Right.
But by this year, and when they released the shows, I was obviously, I want to go again.
So what did you wind up with?
Raleigh, or not Raleigh, but Wilmington. And, one night at Dick's.
Right. And Wilmington is where?
No, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours from my house. So.
And you have 2 for that and 2 for the one night of Dick's?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have wound up with like $3,000 worth of tickets, right?
Yeah. I could have potentially had 8 Dick's tickets and like 6 Wilmington. Oh, and Atlanta. I'd put in for Atlanta too.
But didn't get. Okay. Yeah. Well, sometime if this thing is still going down the road a ways, at some point we should try and like do a Dick's episode.
Yeah.
And before kind of revisit
on
whatever level the shows and
have
a couple of notes. But what do we like? Let's say either we decide or they decide that it's done. What do we do? What do we do after?
I don't know, man.
I mean,
I think if it stops again, we've been through this twice,
right?
And I'll be at peace with it. You know?
Yeah.
In 2004, I know I've told you the story before, but they had made the announcement that they were done, and or they were going to finish after that summer tour, and me and some friends already had Deer Creek tickets, and when they announced it and they said Coventry was going to be it, me and another friend, we bought Coventry tickets, and but we go to the Deer Creek shows. My younger brother's with me, and in those days it was printed off tickets. We didn't have actual Ticketmaster tickets; we just had them printed off.
Oh,
so first night through the gate, they're not scanning tickets; they're just ripping your paper. So we didn't have a ticket for Jesse for the second night. So went down to the library, copied our tickets. We're like, cool. So Jesse and I are on our way back to the venue, and there's people, looking for a miracle. We're like, here, take these. Give them a couple of the extra copies,
Uh-huh.
Second night, all of a sudden they're scanning tickets. And, by the time we get back to our campground and we all walk to the venue, these other two people have walked in with two of our tickets. So, in the end, me and Aaron get inside. Everybody else gets shut out because they scan their tickets. They're used. And I listened to Vultures was playing. I'll never forget it.
There's no wooing in Vultures.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, boy, the Vultures. They're in. My friends are out.
Right. Damn.
It's my own fault, It's like
Sure.
friendly fire, but so I felt just awful. I was like, "Holy crap! Here, there, Phish is gonna break up, and this is our last show that anybody's gonna see except for me. I get to go to Coventry, which I never made it to.
Did you end up eating that ticket, or what? What happened for Coventry?
So what they ended up doing is if you didn't go, you could send in your ticket. They took the stub off. They sent you back your ticket along with a book of Danny Clinch photographs.
Oh.
All 4 band members signed. And then your
Okay.
ticket stub back.
Remind me when we the Tom Waits episode, I went to college with a kid who played in a band called Bone Machine. And I think I still have a concert poster, that they made.
Right.
And when I found it, and I found a couple string cheese ones too.
Oh, nice.
And in that stack of things were a 03 and an 04 Phish calendar.
Yep.
Which I totally forgot that I used to have.
Right.
And I just flipped through them. They're all great. In fact, one of them is that beach scene from the Hoist cover shoot where they're all in the outfits,
the old timey swim gear.
But there's a picture of Trey and Mike. I tore it out because I'm going to frame it. Remind me to show it to you. It's upstairs.
Okay.
So I've always admired, perhaps envied. You've always, to me, had a vibe or an approach or a seeming level of contentedness about yourself, a generally happy person. What's the secret?
Man, I don't know, but I recognize it, and I don't know, probably through a lifetime of weird family interactions, there's I feel no desire or I get no benefit of worry.
Right.
And it's a weird thing.
Yeah. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
It's cropped up in other spots, I think, where maybe somebody has pointed that out or asked you to think about that or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's it. And optimism, and it's not conscious, but like I say, I can recognize it in myself, or
it's a great quality, something that I subconsciously strive in the direction of.
Cool.
So
but I think it probably mostly comes from my mom,
Okay.
And that woman's a saint. She's
Sure.
Single mom and just heartbreak after heartbreak, but
right.
You just,
and she is
1 foot in front of the other.
still living with okay.
She lives with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that I butchered several family dynamic details in doing Ian's episode. Like, I think at one point I was like, oh, I stayed in your mom's room. And then later I was like, you dumb shit. Like, but it was too far for me to backpedal and correct it. And he was just over there like,
all right.
Yeah. He brought a bottle of red and a bottle of white and rolled a blunt.
Ah, nice.
I maybe only the second or third time I've seen somebody roll a blunt, but he hammered it out,
Skills.
Yeah, skills. We talked about the tracksuit.
Oh, nice. Yep.
And I think I realized that was maybe the only Phish show that I've been to with him, because he wasn't at Festival 8.
Correct. Yeah.
But I did see him at Pink Talking Fish.
Okay, here
a few years ago, and it's still. I'm like, no, I swear I've been a couple of other places with you, but
yeah.
Anyway, probably just because the darn memory from that one pops up every. Are you afraid of dying?
I don't think I'm afraid of dying. Like, I'm a Christian, I suppose. And, and like I think there's something better after this. But
okay.
But I also like life's. I feel like life is a gift,
Right.
And I definitely don't want to waste it or make less of it.
Sure.
So
yeah.
I'd like as much time here as I can get.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of anything accomplishment-wise that will make your life complete or fulfilled or anything like that? That's, like, I've almost got all the pieces of the pie. It's just this one, or, a bucket list stuff.
No, and there's probably some deep-seated psychological reason for it, but I don't, I'm not a goal setter or, I just kind of, I guess I'm accepting and like take everything as it comes.
Sure.
And whatever comes along, I make the best of it. But now I avoid things that will disappoint me if I don't reach them.
Smart. Maybe that's part of what goes into that vibe I was talking about. Complete this sentence, if you would, for me, please. The world would immediately become a better place to live if only.
Maybe people quit worrying about what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
Take care of your own yard.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Your affinity for cars. Where did that come from?
I have no clue.
Okay. That's an accurate assessment, right? You're kind of a car guy.
Yeah.
And you know stuff. It's not just like this one's fun to do. You have some knowledge kicking around up there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know, like our family cars were always just transportation,
right?
Yeah. The first like cool car that I bought and wanted was that R32.
Yeah.
And that's not true. I mean, I fell in love with a Volkswagen GTI when I was in high school.
Okay.
But I couldn't get it.
Was that the riding along in my automobile? Do you remember that commercial?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the original song is, or if that's it, but it ended up, Volkswagen used it in a GTI commercial.
Yeah.
And it just,
maybe
convertible, kind of a California vibe, and it just made me like, I need to get all those things and live that life.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, Volkswagens are cool, man.
Right, right.
The GTI had they're a Golf GTI, so the gear shifter had golf ball dimples on it,
nice.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I got into them or where that came from, because my dad's certainly not a car guy,
right.
And but I just like unusual cars.
Sure.
And, I buy older cars that I can afford, but are still, something unusual.
Yeah. So tomorrow you win $85 million in the lottery. What is your first move? And for the rest of your life, does it look relatively the same, or does it look relatively different, or somewhere in between?
Yeah. I definitely would not work for a steady, stiff job, but I actually have a lot of dreams of winning the lottery. But yeah, a house with a bowling alley and a basketball court.
Nice.
And then, but no, I'd say I would definitely charitable stuff.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
want to make the world a better place.
Right.
I think it takes a lot of money to do that. So
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I would.
But I mean, would you travel? Would you guys get out?
Sure.
And then
sure.
like this idea of like having, I don't know, 4 homes, like one in whatever, Costa Rica and one in Spain and one in California and one in Charleston. I mean, is that?
I'd sure like to find out how I would approach that.
Right.
But no, I mean, I can't. I don't know what the point of having 6 houses are.
No, I know, but it's like when you first hear about like the wealthy or like 10 homes, or it's like, well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But then if you think about like I went to high school and college with a dude who, if he's still doing now what he was doing last time I saw him, he was living half of his life in Durango, Colorado, and then half of his life in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And most of the time he's in Durango, he's snowboarding, and when he's then he's surfing. And it's like, if you're gonna spend chunks in different parts like kind of consistently, maybe it does make sense to have a couple or 3 homes. But I don't know.
I suppose that if that's your life, if you're gonna surf part of your time, and then that would make sense.
Or I mean, there's plenty of folks, I'm largely single, do the get rid of everything, and it's van life.
Yeah.
And literally everything. You have any footage of Tom Green in the last couple or 3 years?
No.
I mean, it's him and his dog, and everything he can. Like he has studio stuff if he wants to like record music or comedy or work on on whatever kind of project, and then kitchen stuff and sleeps and of course everything has got to come out and then go back in once you're done with it. But you've got everything you need. I don't know. There's something. It's hard to admire the appeal but not think about loneliness.
Right. Right.
Unless of course you're doing it with your partner and your vehicle is a little bit bigger. But I mean, it's kind of appealing too.
I think I'd have at least 2 houses. Like something that I'd be embarrassed to show some friends because it's so huge.
Right.
But I could be comfortable there for a month or 2 at a time.
Sure. So are you the only one under your roof that misses Casey?
No, mom definitely, she does, but she is super content to be in her room doing projects and
but I mean, you're there to stay?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole kind of idea was like her folks were retiring, and so let's be near them, right?
Yep. We'll be near them, and eventually, when they need us, we'll be there for them.
Okay.
Which, they'll be alive another 20 years,
Sure.
So
sure.
Unless they move, we'll probably stay there.
Right.
And I think we both kind of hope that eventually we'll have a place here in Kansas City and a place there.
Well, there you go.
When we don't
You're
have
starting
to
already.
work. When we don't have to work 40
homes.
hours a week.
Yeah. Well, man, I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you being who you are, and I've gushed a handful of times about the ease with which we can kill a week together.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I still just chuckle about watching the U.S. Open, and like the most exertion of the day is across the parking lot to Chipotle.
That's right.
But you also, I know sometimes you're here a couple, 3-4 times a year, and some of those times are quick in and out for a wedding or whatever. But would certainly like to catch you as often as possible. And
yeah.
I definitely would swing the sticks with you again.
Cool.
I haven't played since I was in Charleston. No, that's not true. I've played at the annual school thing.
Yep.
But I enjoy, not to the degree of the Marshall there, but I enjoy trying to keep up with the pace of the better player that I'm playing with.
Right.
Just, I think can shorten the outing, and it's also the respectful thing to do on a few different fronts. Anyway. So if you would, if I could join you the next time you're here, and you're gonna, did you bring your clubs?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you always do, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jake Watson. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Pleasure was all mine, man.
All right. Talk to you.